Hi, I am a data science enthusiast and I had recently performed an exploratory data analysis on terrorism or terrorist activities around the world using Python. I'm going to share with you all the insights I have obtained from the analysis. The agenda of the analysis is to find out the hot zones of terrorism and draw insights from the same. The first thing I have done here is plot an area graph to understand the region-wise spread of terrorism over time. As we can see from the graph, the total number of terrorist attacks have increased over time, highest being somewhere around 2014. In recent years, most of the area is covered in brown. It represents Middle East and North African region. Thus, we can understand that Middle East and North Africa has experienced maximum terrorist attacks during the recent years. To find the hot zones of terrorism, that is the countries that experience most attacks, I have produced a word cloud where the size of the word represents the frequency or the intensity. Iraq is the largest word here. This means Iraq has experienced the most number of terrorist attacks, followed by Afghanistan, Pakistan, Colombia, and India. The top countries within Iraq to be targeted are Baghdad and Karachi. Next, we have plotted the total number of attacks over the years, and we can see that the year 2014 seems to have seen the most number of terrorist attacks in the past few years. After 2014, the number of terrorist attacks have been falling. Next, we want to find out the terrorist group that has the most number of attacks among the groups that have been identified. We see from the graph that it's Taliban. It has had more than 7,000 attacks till date. An observation from the data which I have not shown here graphically is that Taliban was most active in 2015, and most attacks that Taliban makes are in Afghanistan. Almost more than half of the attacks it makes are on Afghanistan. Next, we observe that in most of the acts of terrorism, the private citizens and properties are more prone to being targeted as compared to military, police, government and other people. It's probably because they are the most vulnerable and can be exploited by the terrorist easily for their gains. The terrorists mostly use the method of bombing and explosion in most of the attacks. As seen from the graph here, almost half of the attacks that have taken till date were of this type. Other than that, armed assault and assassination are also some major types of terrorist attack. Hostage-taking and hijacking are very rare, but again, they are not negligible or completely impossible. It is obvious from before that since explosions are the most common type of attacks, explosives and firearms are the weapons that are used mostly during the attacks. Incendiary, which are used to cause fires, are also used but very less compared to explosives. Melee, which basically refers to close combat weapons, are also used sometimes. Other than that, chemicals, fake weapons, sabotage equipment are barely used. Terrorist activities inflict certain damages. The attacks whose damage has been estimated are mostly minor, that is below $1 million, but that is still a lot of damage to the society. We must not underestimate the damage caused by terrorism, as we have not included here the social and emotional damage caused to the people involved. So summarizing it all, we observe that Iraq is the most frequent spot of terrorist attacks, within which Iraq, Baghdad and Karachi are the top cities to be targeted. The most common regions of terrorist activities are Middle East and North Africa. In 2014, terrorist activities were at peak. In acts of terrorism, private citizens are more likely to be targeted, and the most common type of terrorist attack is explosions. Thank you for going through my analysis. Any feedback or suggestions is appreciated. Have a great day ahead.